In 2017, the Electronic Entertainment Expo brought some pretty exciting game announcements. While it seems that this was a bit of a sleeper year due to the lack of crazy, groundbreaking announcements, sorry folks, no Vita 2 on the horizon, some of what was revealed will have far-reaching effects on the world of gaming. Here are 7 of the most important surprises from E3 2017. Number 1. 3 generations of games on one console. A couple of years ago, Microsoft unveiled backwards compatibility for the Xbox One with some Xbox 360 games. This year, Microsoft has announced that the Xbox One will also be receiving backwards compatibility with the original Xbox. This is a big deal due to the fact that it means that the Xbox One has something that Sony has seemingly ditched: 3 generations of games on a single machine. When the PlayStation 3 was originally launched, it featured compatibility for both PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 games. However, later versions of the PlayStation 3 lacked this back compatibility for PS2 games. The PlayStation 4 allows emulation of a few PS2 games, but this feature isn't particularly robust. The only other player in the industry that comes close to offering something along these lines is Nintendo. They have the Virtual Console service, along with some less than consumer-friendly methods of transferring one's games between consoles and generations. So, while Nintendo has offered back compatibility between both the Wii and Wii U hardware and software, there's no such compatibility between the Wii U and the Switch. Meanwhile, on the Xbox One, players can use their old discs or simply access their digital purchases of games and DLC right from the Xbox One. No need for fancy adapters or deleting your games on your old console or what have you. If you have the disc or the purchase is tied to your username digitally, you're good to go. Building a library on the original Xbox and the 360 has thus meant building a library on the Xbox One. Will gamers actually take advantage of this? According to an in-depth study of player data from Ars Technica, it appears that a small percentage of gaming on the Xbox One actually involves back compatibility. While you can probably expect a little spike in the price of old copies of Crimson Skies, there will probably be very few people actually using this back compatibility, at least using it for long play sessions. Most folks will probably just pop in for the occasional bit of the original Halo with the original graphics. In spite of the diminishing returns, this seems to be a move in the right direction for Microsoft. It's going to instill brand loyalty in those who take advantage of it, and it's definitely going to be used as an arguing point when people are trying to decide which console is the right one to purchase. Number 2. That Mario Rabbids thing. I have no love for Ubisoft's Rabbids. They remind me of the minions from Despicable Me if those minions were hopped up on dangerous and illegal substances. That said, Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle looks pretty interesting. The game's premise is that Ubisoft's idiotic lagomorphs have been pulled into the Mushroom Kingdom, bringing with them their villains. Here's where things get interesting. The game is a turn-based strategy title with destructible terrain. It's not the first Mario spin-off game featuring characters from another universe, but it is an interesting departure for everybody's favorite playable plumber. Combining the Mushroom Kingdom with XCOM sounds like a recipe for disaster, but if Ubisoft manages to get the game's tone right and keep the gameplay challenging but fair, that 5% chance of losing with your unit that seems to happen 50% of the time I'm looking at you, it has the potential to be a huge hit. Number 3. Shadow of the Colossus. Sony has the funny tendency to drop surprises at E3 that people have been waiting for. Between the reveal of The Last Guardian a couple years ago, some Crash Bandicoot last year, and this year, Shadow of the Colossus. It seems as though they're in the business of giving people exactly what they want. In this case, it's a new version of Shadow of the Colossus for the PlayStation 4. Now, in case you're unfamiliar with it, Shadow of the Colossus is a fantasy game involving stone giants that put Japan's studio on the map. It is widely regarded as a PlayStation 2 classic, and while it did see a re-release on the PS3, it appears that this PS4 version of the game is a proper remake with shiny new graphics. While The Last Guardian sold pretty well, it wasn't pushing Zelda numbers that Sony may have been hoping for. Though it was a beautiful game, it may have been too little too late. Perhaps this Shadow of the Colossus remake is meant to test the waters for more games of the genre from Japan Studio? Perhaps. Number 4. Age of Empires Definitive Edition. The real-time strategy genre has in recent years taken a bit of a backseat thanks to the surge of MOBAs that hit the market a few years ago. It seemed, for a little while, that the RTS was dead. Today, however, it seems that a new equilibrium is being reached within the games industry, as new RTS, such as Northgard, are in development and finding success, while MOBAs seem to be a bit on the decline. Right now, that means, is the right time for a remaster of Age of Empires. Now, Age of Empires, in case you are young enough to have missed it, is a historical RTS set in classical antiquity. It was massively popular and introduced a great many people to strategy games. While the game's sequel, set in medieval times, is generally regarded as the better game, for most folks, their nostalgia is rooted in the first. Bear in mind that Age of Empires 2 did receive an HD remaster a few years ago, so this news isn't completely unprecedented. Also worth noting is that this remaster will feature 4K support, a brand new narrative, and a reorchestrated soundtrack. Unfortunately, the game's not coming to Steam. Right now it seems exclusive to the Windows Store. If you'd like to try it up, you can sign up for the beta right now. Number 5. Metroid is not dead. The Metroid franchise is one that hasn't gotten much love in recent years. Besides the uniquely mediocre Federation Force, there just hasn't been much Metroid anything. During their bizarrely short E3 conference, however, Nintendo teased Metroid Prime 4, the first-person spin-off of the Metroid franchise. Additionally, they later unveiled Metroid Samus Returns, which is currently in development for the 3DS, and is a remake of the Game Boy platformer Metroid 2 Return of Samus. I have a strong suspicion that the sales of Samus Returns will be the yardstick by which interest in new 2D Metroid games will be measured. The Metroid series is largely responsible for defining the design of the Metroidvania genre of platformers, the Castlevania series being the other. Metroidvania platformers are those platformers with a uniquely open-world design. You're running back and forth and exploring new things, unlike Mario, which is more linear. The Metroid series has a lot of fans who have been disappointed by the lack of proper 2D Metroid games in recent years, and, let's face it, proper 3D Metroid games as well. There was nothing Metroid on the Switch, so hopefully this turns out for the best. Number 6. A mainline Pokemon RPG for the Nintendo Switch. Right now, we know almost nothing about the Pokemon RPG that's coming to the Switch, but the announcement almost seems like a reaction to last week's Pokemon Direct, during which Nintendo revealed that Pokken Tournament DX for the Switch was going to be released. That wasn't a bad announcement in itself, but when Nintendo said, "Hey guys, we're announcing something Pokemon-related for the Switch," that got a lot of people thinking that it was going to be one sort of game, when in reality it was just Pokemon meets Tekken. The reason why this announcement with no other information attached to it was such a big deal is because Pokemon fans have dreamed for a long time of a proper Pokemon RPG on a home console. Anybody who's played Pokemon has almost definitely imagined the game in a beautifully rendered 3D space, and yet, in the more than 20 years that Nintendo has been producing home consoles capable of rendering 3D graphics, there has been no 3D Pokemon RPG for any of them. Of course, we don't know anything about this game, other than the fact that it's in development, so it might not be the 3D game that everybody has been hoping for, but we can dream. Number 7. No major cringe moments.
NBA Live 16 is rooted in self-expression. It starts with self-expression.
Alright, this is a stupid thing to be proud of, but I was at least pleasantly surprised by the lack of humiliations during E3. Seriously, every year, there's usually something to be ashamed of that happens on stage. Something that people on Twitter quote for weeks on end, but this year, nothing huge. Sure, there were some awkward bits here and there, but for the most part, it seems that the presentations managed to dodge being bad. Does it mean that E3 is growing up? No. No, it doesn't. It does, however, mean that publishers and presenters have a better idea of what best fits their audience. Was there anything that surprised you about E3 2017? hit us up and follow at OneRuleBeCool on Twitter. Stick with us for all the greatest game news and editorials, and be sure to follow me at Jordan_Cameron for my own bizarre ideas about what makes E3 great.